the Federal Capital Territory judge that is here, directors, captains of industry, ndị nwe m, ndị Enugu, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I think perhaps what we should do is distribute the brochure. I have a booklet that contains snippets of the modest efforts we've made across, or the modest interventions we've made across different sectors. And what I'd like to do is not to deliver this as a speech, but to have a conversation around it. And I hope we'll probably have the opportunity to do a deep dive in any sector that, of course, interests you. So we took a bold view of what Enugu could achieve under our watch, bearing in mind, of course, of our long and rich history. We made some humongous promises to our people, and we obviously raised their expectations of the things we could achieve. And I would like to deal with them first by looking at our strategic objectives. So all the things that we see happening today in Enugu is as a result of careful planning, things that we have clearly stated in our manifesto, and we had also thought through how we could connect the dots. Nothing is happening out of knee-jerk. We had three key strategic objectives. One was to look at peace and security in Enugu, to look at an inclusive economic development, and then, of course, sustainable prosperity for all the citizens of Enugu. And then we went on to express our vision, which is to grow our economy to an unprecedented height and to eradicate poverty, to achieve a 0% rate in our poverty headcount index. It sounded almost like they were mere posturing, or perhaps we stated all those because we wanted to earn some public acclaim, but it was far from it. We also knew our growth rate. It wasn't because we were unmindful of the rate at which we have grown over the years. If you look at the growth projection we had, it's a 7-fold growth in the next 8 years. And if we try to reduce them to number, it would translate to 27 compound annual growth rate, 27%. That's a lot. So, but we recognize that a lot of the growth is going to come from private sector activities. We also recognize that Enugu has gained the reputation of being a public service state, a public service economy. But we were convinced that if we have to grow at the rate we've projected, then the growth must be driven by private sector investment. And that means it was going to be a growth that would be enabled by governments, but driven by private sector investments. So as we came in, we identified our security challenges as the biggest elephants in the room. So we knew we needed to deal with that frontally. We made some consequential pronouncements with respect to the illegal sit-at-home order that we inherited. We knew if we were going to bring businesses to Enugu, investors to Enugu, we had to explain to them why would we have non-state actors dictate to us days of the week that we go to work and days that we sit at home. So we felt that it was totally unacceptable. And through the efforts mobilizing the security agencies and working with them collaboratively, we were able to deal with that frontally. And of course, I'm also going to, and I think at some point we'll be able to do some of this recognition, but perhaps even if time constrains us to do that, I may not be able to single all the people who have contributed to the modest effort across the different sectors we have intervened. But I want to also acknowledge and recognize that even some of you that are here have also shown and demonstrated strong support across the different sectors that we've intervened. With respect to the issue of security, we obviously had to set up a distress response squad, a special unit, but above that, we also felt that in this age and era, we also have advantage of deploying technology. So we were able to build a security surveillance system that allows us to have a line of sight of all that is happening in our states. Today, we're happy to say that whereas we cannot tell you that we're going to deliver a crime-free society or a crime-free city or state, what we can assure you is with the technology we have, we're able to identify this criminal when they strike. We're able to track them. We're able to capture them, and we're able to bring them to justice. And then just fast-tracking, we talked about achieving a 0% rate in our poverty headcount index. We were convinced that any long-term or any sustainable poverty eradication must address the issue of human capital development, and which is why we have made the sort of investments we've made in the education sector. It appears we're obsessed with education, but we recognize that the true wealth of any state or indeed any nation lies on the standard of their human capital. And so in Enugu State, we've invested and we continue to invest 33% of our annual budget in education. And so this is way above the UNESCO recommended 15 to 20%. And what that means is, for us, we decided to have a program we refer to as cut-off points. Cut-off point essentially means that we had to cut off from the old system and to launch a new system that we also refer to Smart School. So we're today in Enugu building across the 260 wards smart green schools. Again, our smart green school, we're not so much excited or so much enthused about the brick and the mortar of the smart schools. Of course, they are in themselves, pleasant to view, but the thing about the smart school is what the smart school features. We have a school program that gets the index child to provide the index child access to high quality learning from age 3. So again, whereas you have UNESCO recommending 9 years of basic education, in Enugu, our plan is to provide 12 years of basic education, free and mandatory. So our children are now able to have access to quality learning, have access to skills that would help them in the workplace of tomorrow. Because each smart school features learnings like robotics, artificial intelligence, mechatronics, CGI, virtual reality, augmented reality. So all the skills these our children need to be imbued with in order for them to be relevant in the workplace of tomorrow is what we're teaching in the smart schools. And we're also offering 1 free balanced diet meal every day at lunchtime. This would largely act as an incentive for these kids to go to school, to look forward to going to school the next day. Because we have zero tolerance for out of school children of school age that are out of school. We do not want to tolerate them. And I think the world has moved away from that. When we set the goals for the millennium development, the goal then was to make sure that every child of school age must get into school. And that goal was to be achieved by 2015. By between 2015 and 2030, the Sustainable Development Goal speaks to making sure that our children have access to quality learning. So the world has moved on. We're no longer talking about children of school age that are out of school, but rather quality access to learning. And that's why we believe that if we have to get our children to be in tune with the rest of the world, they must have to do a leapfrog. We cannot think about education and begin to deal with it incrementally or marginally. We felt that we needed to do something radical. And that's why we introduced the Smart Green School. And by September next year, every ward in Enugu State would have a functional smart school. We currently have 250 construction sites going on. The outstanding thing is because we're looking for space in the city. Incidentally, all the rural areas, we're able to find space to do the smart schools, but we're having some challenges with the urban area to find enough space. But we're going to get there. Very soon we should be able to get that number, 260. But at least we have 250 locations going on now. We also believe that we have to produce healthy kids if we're talking about, our children going to school and being able to compete with their peers, they must also have access to quality health care. The indicators that we had to contend with in our healthcare space was scary, and one that we also felt we needed to do something radical. The maternal mortality rates, the infant mortality rates, the under 5 mortality rates that we saw was one that needed us to do something urgently. And which is why, again, in the healthcare space, our plan is to do 260 type 2 primary healthcare centers. Again, you'll be wondering about these 260 numbers. We do have primary healthcare centers, as we talk, in our various communities. But what we are doing now is upgrade them. We had before now type 3 primary healthcare centers across, not type 3, type 1. So what we're doing now is upgrade to type 2. So what that means is we're not just thinking about the structure, we're thinking about equipping them, also furnishing them, and making sure we have the healthcare personnel, which is our major challenge. Now, just recently, I approved the recruitment of over 2,500 healthcare personnel. Because one of the major challenges we notice in our rural area is not having those primary healthcare well staffed and not being able to access a healthcare professional, at some time of the day or even at night. So we're now recruiting the community health extension workers, we're recruiting nurses, midwives, we're also recruiting, of course, doctors and all that. But most importantly, the community health extension workers, critical. So the idea is that you must be able to access a healthcare professional 24/7 in any of these primary healthcare centers. Of course, we're going to have a solar system, so the place will be powered. Another interesting thing we're doing in the healthcare space is we're now migrating from the manual records to electronic medical records. So all our patients' records are now being digitized, but overall, we're also doing the digitalization of those medical records of our patients and our citizens. Still, again, in the social services, when we made the commitment to provide water in our cities within 180 years, we didn't make that commitment again because of some, urge to earn public acclaim, but it was because we recognized the importance of water and where it ranked in the priority of our people. We knew what our people, were essentially going through. We saw how kids would line up to, in a queue to get water from tankers, so time or go to water stations, spend hours, time that they would spend in school or studying, they are spending to queue for water. Which is why we committed to, within 180 days, to ensure that we have water flowing in the various homes in our city. And then what we've done, and of course, within 180 days, we were able to address the upstream challenge of water supply. So at the time we came in, we were producing just barely 2 million liters daily of water. But we've grown that volume from 2 million liters to 120 million liters. And the total demand for the city of Enugu is 80 million liters as it stands today. So we have more than enough. We built in buffer. We have more than enough water supply to supply every home, every household in Enugu. Now, of course, we're now currently dealing with the third leg of it, the downstream, because we've addressed the midstream, which is making sure that from the storage, we got the water to the different headers. Now, but from the headers, and now we have water across all the locations in Enugu, whether it's Abapa, Cold Camp, Iva Valley, Gariki, Transikulu, Independence Layer, GRA. We have water supplying to all those locations, but we now are dealing with the tertiary pipelines, the downstream, where we now have to connect to homes. And we're also aggressively doing that. If you go to Abapa and Cold Camp, we're making sure that water gets to every home. And that's essentially what we're doing. Now, it's going to take a while, but we're committed to that. We're going to make sure that every home in Enugu, but we're not just only thinking about Enugu, we're also committed to make sure even in our rural area that you're not more than 5 minutes walk from potable water supply. So currently we're doing over 130 boreholes in different communities. We're also using the same opportunity to address the issue of open defecation. So we're building toilets as well in those 130 communities. The idea again is to make sure that we do not have any community in Enugu where where anybody would have more than 5 minutes walk to potable water. And then of course we move again to another area where we've also intervened, the issue of road and housing, and again we'll talk a bit about transportation. But let's talk about roads. We take the view that we should really not have, in the 24th century, a city where we still have roads that are not paved. So our objective is to make sure that all the roads in our city are paved. Okay, we've done over 100 roads already in the city. I know there are reports about 71 completed. We originally awarded 71, but whilst the 71 was going on, you have calls from everybody wanting their roads to be done. So we didn't stop at 71. We had to continue to intervene. But just recently, we've also awarded another 141 roads. We're doing the same thing in our rural area. And by the way, the idea of the smart school again for us is just beyond education. We see the smart school again as a platform that would anchor a lot of our developmental projects. So if you look at major cities of the world today, you'll notice that a number of them actually became famous as a result of the educational institution in those cities. And the list is endless. If you talk about Oxford, talk about Cambridge, talk about Boston, Harvard, a whole lot of them, you'll notice that the city became famous and became great because of the education. And that's the same thing we envision when we think about our smart school. We see our smart school as the Oxford in those communities, where all the other development would, rally round. Okay, because once you have a smart school, a well-structured education institution, you want to have access road to it. You're going to attract cottage industries. You're going to have a whole lot of economic activities going on within that community, and you're going to bring light to that community. Because you're training these kids, you're imbuing them with the right civic habits, so they're going to go back and teach some of these habits to their parents. So we believe that in doing our rural roads, we're also mindful of making sure that we build access roads to these 260. And we're not just going to produce asphalt, buying the feed or the inputs. We're going to actually mine our inputs. So we're going to be able to mine the chippings that we're going to use, the bitumen and the rest of it. We all have them in Enugu. So we're going to be in charge of all the things we need, all the raw materials we need to produce asphalt. And so we can cut drastically the cost of building our road, and we can then, of course, meet our target to do at least 1,000 kilometers of road every year. In housing, we essentially, I'm glad that the president of the elite mentioned the public service estate or something. And currently our target is to do 30,000. We're doing 7,000 mass housing units currently in Enugu. And again, we're thinking about your brothers and sisters in the state civil service. We believe that those our workers deserve a home. There shouldn't be any worker who should be, of course, in a rented or, have challenge with accommodation. So the idea is to make sure we have enough homes that our workers could live in and, work and hopefully take ownership of it, because we're also going to be structuring a mortgage system that allows them to become owners of this home after a while. And so our objective in the housing sector is also to see how we can rid Enugu of slums. And part of what we're doing today is to, once we're done with these housing programs we have, is to see how we can move those living in these slums to a good and decent housing estate, and then we'll be able to at least work on those slums. We feel that having slums in Enugu is almost like having our beautiful manicured fingers sawed with a thumb that is sawed, So that's why we want to get rid of those. We have about 20 slums in Enugu, and we're going to move the first 2 out this year because we're getting ready. We're getting ready their accommodation. So those 2 is going to serve as pilots. We believe that with the system we've put in place, the people in those other slums will be the ones inviting government to come and repeat what you have done with the pilot. We want them to take ownership. We want them to understand the value we're creating so that there is no tension. But that's what we hope to achieve. You must also have heard about the new Enugu city. The last time Enugu was reviewed, the last master plan we have, what we currently call the Enugu city today, was designed in the 50s. And this was when we had a population of barely 62,000 people in Enugu. Today, with a population of close to 4 million, we still haven't made any effort or attempt to redesign or rejig the master plan. So we're now doing a new city. We've done a master plan that, of course, we're not going to be able to build up the entire area that has been designated as the Enugu new city. We're only just going to scratch the surface. But the idea is that there would be a master plan where successive governments will continue to build on, and we have a clear path of how we want Enugu to expand. And that's what we're doing with the new Enugu City. And that project is going on. Recall that I had talked about growing our economy to an exponential height and how we could only do that through government-enabled policies and programs, and have those policies and programs should in effect attract private sector investments. And that's what we have started to do across the different sectors. In agriculture, we built up to 300,000 hectares of land bank, where we hope to attract a lot of commercial farmers to come and, of course, do commercial and big farming. But we are also supporting our smallholder farmers. We've been able to put together the data of the smallholder farmers across the communities, and we are engaging them, training them with extension services. But above all, if you followed up our activities, just recently we provided some handheld tillers, but we've also ordered 1,000 tractors. These 1,000 there's a footnote to that. The 1,000 tractors we've ordered for, we're going to have 200 that will be imported. This is an arrangement we have with a Danish company. 200 will be imported, already built. Another 300 will be assembled in Enugu. The 200 will come in before the end of the year, in less than 50 days. In less than 50 days, we'll have the 200 in Enugu. Now, the other 300 will be assembled in Enugu, and the rest of the 500 will be manufactured in Enugu. So we're going to have a tractor manufacturing company based in Enugu, and this is how we've committed to 1,000. So we didn't just give them an open check to import 1,000 tractors, but we're also interested in the social impact, how we can generate employment, empower our people, and create economic activity as a result. And we're also doing the same thing in the taxi scheme that we just we're about to introduce, where we've ordered for 2,000 sedan taxis, but not all those taxis will be imported. A certain number of those taxis would have to come imported. Some of them will be assembled in Enugu and some will be manufactured, because we want to activate places like SEDI, PRODA, and all those other agencies where you can actually produce these skills and get a lot of these parts done locally. Again, this is also another program we've put in place to get Anamco up and running, because we're very mindful of what it takes for businesses to come to a city. We know businesses are not Father Christmas. We understand that they are focused on returns on investment. So what we try to do is to help them beyond creating the environment, but to work with them to see how we can de-risk some of the investment flow. And that includes commerciality. How do we help them with the commercial part of the business? So if we give them offtake and we can get commitment from them that they are coming to set up in Enugu, it becomes a win-win for both parties. So they have reason to come to Enugu. And we also are in need of those things. We're doing the same thing with Higher Tamako. We're making a commitment to buy the Android tablets. By the way, I didn't mention this, but each smart school comes with 700 Android tablets, because the kids from elementary 1 learn with their tablets. They are given tablets to learn with. So, but rather than import the over, I think, 200,000 of those tablets that we decided to get into an agreement with Hire. They are coming to set up their production plants in Enugu, where they will be producing those tablets. And that would also include other domestic, other household appliances, because they make refrigerator, they make TV, they make all sorts. But the interesting thing is that they would have their factory. We also have an agreement. In some cases, we go as far as even providing them the location, just because we are interested in bringing them to Enugu. If we have to go and beg the investors, we go beg them, because we know they have options. And we know that we're dealing, we have competition, So what we try to do is get the investors know that they have trusted partners. They have a state that is willing to help them beyond the ease of doing business, but helping you succeed in your business because you're setting it up in Enugu. And we think that has ripple effects, because then the economic activity, just imagine that today in Enugu, where we're doing over 1,000 projects across the state, we are currently, we plan to invest between now and the middle of next year, over R1 billion in each ward. Just imagine the ripple effect of that. The employment generation, the wealth creation, the economic activities that would flow from those level of activities. So truly, if we have our young people who want to work, I hear all the time from the contractors that Enugu is the most expensive place for labor today, because you can't find them. They cost as much as 10,000 per day to get a mason, or to get those practical skills. To find one, it costs that, and that's the feedback we get, because we have this project going on everywhere. And we're quite intentional when we award these contracts. We make sure we don't award them to people that will take the money out of our states. We award them to people that would also spend the money, because we understand the ripple. We understand the ripple effect. So even the contracts we've awarded to, some of the contracts we awarded to the Chinese, we've insisted that they must have their headquarters in Enugu. Those of them that are in Abuja or elsewhere. Part of the terms is, look, if we're giving you this size of contract, you must then come and site your headquarters in Enugu, because we also want our people to be impacted by those activities. And then, of course, there are different interventions we've done. And I understand that we're going to have a time where we can take this, do some deep dive. If I pick any sector now and I want to talk about it, we could spend a whole day here just talking about it. In the area of investment, we are also deliberate in making sure we revamp our moribund assets. That was the social contract we executed with the people of Enugu. We committed to revamping our moribund assets. So my SPA had alluded to the fact that we're already getting the International Conference Center. That will be ready by end of October. It will be ready for commissioning. The International Conference Center. Hotel Presidential is also going to be ready before the end of December. So we're commissioning Hotel Presidential before the end of These things are again not knee-jerk. They are, as I said earlier, connecting the dots. Our objective is to attract 3 million visitors to Enugu. And except you're just paying lip service to it, there are structures you must have if you're expecting that number of visitors. If you want your city to be the conferencing capital, there are structures, and sometimes you don't wait for these things to happen or for the investors. And what the model we have adopted is nothing, new. We're not reinventing anything. This is the same model you have in Kigali, where they actually enabled these investors to come. They created the environment. You didn't have to wait for them. But then, if you de-risk construction, the investors say, wow, the construction risk is out, and they can step in, and then you ask for a premium. So that's why we're getting all these things ready as a state government. We're beyond doing the International Conference Center, we're also doing we're doing 340-bed 5-star hotel just beside the International Conference Center. It would be the only 5-star hotel. And why not? If you're talking about operationalizing your international airports, one of the things that any major international carrier would look out for is where their crew would stay. And not of them will not put their crew in a hotel if it's not 5-star, or if it's not where they can, the insurance company will sign off on. And so we understand these things, and we know that sometimes we need to get into the arena, even as governments, to enable these investments to happen. So the conference center, the Niger gas, that would again come on board before the end of this year, the moribund Niger gas. Now we have the UPPL. You must have also have read in the news that we secured a deal of 100 billion to revamp the United Palm Products Limited. So not only that we secured a deal, but the investors had actually moved to site. They've started planting, they've started clearing, they've also started building their processing plants right there at the UPPL. And then, of course, the one that has been mentioned by the previous speakers, the recent 40 billion naira deal we secured with the Sunrise Flour Mill. But there are multiple deals. In the last 4 months or so, we've secured a deal of over 300 billion naira just from outside investors. We have also planned, we're working with investors to do our livestock, because we want to organize that sector. We're talking about a sector that has over 100 billion naira turnover in our state, and we're not playing actively in that sector. So we're trying to now set up a system that allows our people to play actively in that space, the livestock space. And that's something we're doing. We're doing it in a very structured way. And we recognize that if we're going to grow exponentially, we have to disrupt the status quo. And we talked about, disruptive innovation in order for us to think, to be able to get to this. Because if you look at the trend of growth and what we have projected, they don't make sense, they don't align. So the only thing that could justify that is you're trying to disrupt the status quo, you're trying to do something outside the conventional way we've always done things. And this is happening across all the sectors. Tourism, we've alluded to it, we're upgrading our parks. We're doing about 5 parks. Before December, those parks will be ready. Building parks with water park, with arcades, with amusement parks, and all that. So let me say that in all the sectors, we have programs and projects that are going on. But those programs and projects are all designed to connect the dots, to achieve not just to grow our economy, but to make sure we eradicate poverty, and then we have the ease of doing business. So for us in Enugu is to make Enugu a premier destination for business, a premier destination for living, a premier destination for tourism, a premier destination for investment. And that was what we stated as our mission. So you can see that then all the team, all the people we work with, it's almost like it's in our DNA to pursue this. They understand this, and we're also mindful of the institutions, because ultimately all the things that we've expressed cannot happen without people and without human beings. And that's where we are also paying attention to. If you look at our public sector, we're moving all the activities we're doing there. They used to be manual based before we came in, but we're now migrating to e-governance. So I think in less than a week or so, we're going to launch our e-governance platform. All the NDA, if you go to our website now, you'll see that you can access all the NDA in a portal. So all the NDA has a portal. But in about a week when they go live, you are then able to access services from those NDAs. You won't have to, or you may not need to go except it's absolutely necessary. But the idea again, and of course to achieve all this, you have to upskill your civil servants. You need to build their capacity to be able to operate or feel comfortable with ICT. And that we have been doing and we will continue to do, because it's an ongoing thing. And also the change management that goes with that. The judiciary is also not left out. We are automating our processes in the judiciary. We have not just even the pre-litigation. We are also dealing with even the procedures in courts, where we are making sure that our judges no longer have to write in longhand, that we have a system that allows them to record those proceedings, and so that back end to end that we're fully automated. And again, this is deliberate because we have to build a strong institution. Across, if you talk about the ease of doing business, one of the things that comes readily to mind is the ease of enforcement of contracts, and which was why we immediately had to set up some specialized courts when we came in line with our commitment. So we have the commercial court, we have the family court, we have the real estate courts. Those are specialized courts that we've set up since we came in. We've expanded and upgraded our magistrates. What they are now able to do is much higher than what they were doing before we came in. A lot of these things would not be possible if we do not have your support and have you buy into it. And this is why this is why I'm excited about this engagement, because one of the recurring questions we get is, where are you finding money to do all this? And so that's one recurring question that kept coming in. And the truth is that we're not borrowing. We've just been trying to see how we can ensure that we mobilize our domestic revenue, and then of course we harness our resources where before now we haven't. So which is why we've set up the Ministry of Energy and Solid Minerals. Because one of the things we did was to have a geospatial survey conducted when we came in to be able to ascertain the quantum of some of the mineral resources we have in our state and to know how we can engage with the federal government and investors.
We have those that have been explored that are yet to be exploited. We know them. Alum, gypsum, kaolin, glass sand, name them, a whole lot of them, limestone and all that. I just mentioned just recently and during the course of our geospatial investigation, we also found out a whole lot of other minerals. We just talked about bitumen, which we hope to explore and even exploit to feed our asphalt production plant. So this would be to essentially invite you to continue to be with us on this journey, because we still have a whole lot. It may sound like we've accomplished or we've done something, but the truth is that we're faced with a whole lot of developmental challenges, and sometimes you do not even know where to start. But our plan is to make sure that we serve our people. So we want to provide quality, people-focused governance. That's essentially what the driver is for us. The people, the people, the people. And we are also going to be calling on you, our revered senior civil servants in Abuja, to support us, because currently there are a whole lot of things we're doing which will of course need support from the federal government. And of course, those, it won't come from the top. It will have to come from members, from people in this room, where you will have to, I don't know if the director of the Ministry of Aviation is here. She was one of us. I met with her when I went to see the minister. And so we're expecting that we're going to get support from you in your different ministry. The idea again is to make Enugu a state where we'll all be very proud of and proud to come back home. So while I yield the floor open for us to take questions, I want to once again thank you for all the support you've given us and you continue to give us on this our journey of Enugu's greatness, our journey of Enugu's development. Thank you and God bless you.